You're listening to Jesus and a Cup of Joe, the podcast where faith gets real, truth stands tall, and every conversation begins with Jesus. Hosted by Royce Bottoms, a veteran, minister, and everyday believer. This is where we dive deep into the Word, face life's challenges head on, and keep Christ at the center of it all. So grab your favorite cup of Joe, settle in, and let's walk this journey together. One step, one scripture, one story at a time.
Hey, I want to welcome all of you back to Jesus and a Cup of Joe. Glad you're able to join me. Hope and pray you're having a fantastic day. Get your favorite cup of Joe, get yourself settled in, and let's get ready to go. So last time in Dog Tags and Discipline, Chapter 2, we talked about what happens when survival turns into surrender. When drifting gives way to discipline and when God begins to shape you into something deeper than just strength. Basic training stripped me down, but it didn't tell me who I was going to become because that part was coming next. So today in episode 3, we're going to look at Airborne School and Advanced Individual Training. And we're going to see where discipline turns into skills and where the pressure turns into purpose and where God teaches you something simple and terrifying. How to jump. So the day came for us to graduate from basic training. And as we were leaving Fort Jackson, and we're crossing those gates in a bus, it felt like I was stepping out of a storm. For once, there was no yelling, there was no chaos, no nonstop pressure. That all faded away as we continued to drive north. But see, it wasn't relief, it was a transition. Basic training breaks you. Advanced individual training, it reveals to you. And I was about to find out exactly what the Army thought I was really good for. So we left Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and we traveled to a place called Fort Lee, Virginia, home of the quartermaster. This is where advanced individual training takes place, and I was assigned to the 262nd Quartermaster Battalion. My military occupational specialty, MOS, was a 77 Foxtrot, better known as a Petroleum Supply Specialist. Nowadays, the Army calls it a 92 Foxtrot. It was dealing with fuel. This wasn't glamorous, it wasn't heroic looking, but it was essential. Because think about it. Aircrafts don't move without it. Convoys can't roll. Generators don't run. Missions can't happen without fuel. And see, for the first time in my life, I understood that it wasn't about belonging. It was about being needed for something. Now, the drill sergeants were still there, but they wasn't breathing down our neck every second. It wasn't about endurance anymore. Now it was about precision because fuel is dangerous. And I remember sitting there in the classroom when one of the instructors walked in. And these were the opening remarks. They welcomed us to Fort Jackson. They welcomed us to POL, Petroleum Oil and Lubricant, POL School, and told us that in a wartime situation, our life expectancy was 30 seconds. Now, if you can imagine a lot of us looking around, laughing, thinking he was joking, but he was very serious. Because fuel's dangerous. One mistake, you can burn down a motor pool. One mistake, you can contaminate an aircraft. One mistake, it can cost lives. But also, we are the one thing that the enemy wants to take out because without a supply, the military doesn't move. And so I realized for the first time in my life that I picked a job that was truly dangerous. But it was all about learning. It was learning how to operate those pumps, how to test for the water and contaminants in that fuel, how to ground my equipment so there wasn't a static discharge, how to track my inventory so I knew where every drop of fuel went, how to follow the safety protocols with zero shortcuts because fuel is dangerous. And see, AIT drilled one thing into our bones. Be fast, but don't rush. Be exact, but don't freeze. Be safe, but never stop. That tension just didn't shape how I worked. It shaped how I thought. If you've never smelt fuel before, all types of fuels have different smells. Jet fuel, JP8, smells completely different than diesel fuel, which is different than what the military calls MoGas or regular gasoline versus kerosene or crude oil or the oil that you put into your own vehicle. It all has a distinct smell, and it sticks to your clothes. It's on your boots. It's on your skin. You can shower all you want to, but see, it doesn't matter because of that smell. And we all hated that smell, but we learned how to wear it like a badge. Because by the time we were done with AIT school, we all were having to get new uniforms because our uniforms were destroyed. Now, see, one of the things they give us as uniforms is we have coveralls or aviation flight suits because they're fire retardant to an extent, and it helps you. All right. That smell that we carried with us meant responsibility. It meant trust, and it meant that the Army depended on us. And somewhere all of that, I started learning something deeper, that God doesn't always mark you with applause. Sometimes he marks you with the weight. See, AIT built a different type of brotherhood. We had one kid from Detroit. This kid could fix any engine on this earth unless it was 6 a.m. He was not getting up early for nothing in the world. We had one kid from Alabama. His accent was so thick, we needed to have subtitles on him to understand what he was saying. We had a quiet guy from up north who never pumped gas before the Army. He rode buses all the time. We had one loudmouth who thought he knew everything. But see, he hooked up the pump backwards and he soaked himself with diesel fuel, and he learned a valuable lesson. See, we were nothing alike, but we all needed each other. We all laughed together until we cried. We laid awake trying to figure out what was going on and the doubts in our head, but growing up together in ways we never expect. See, God uses people as tools in our development. And a lot of his tools in my life wore BDUs and smell like jet fuel. But see, there was something still shifting in me during school. It wasn't ambition. It wasn't ego. It was responsibility. If someone struggled, I stepped in. If there was tension in the room, I tried to cut a joke to break the tension, or I stayed calm to get through it. If a drill sergeant was asking for volunteers, which we were always told to never volunteer for anything, I did. See, I didn't know it then, but the leadership was forming. The same calm that showed up during my high school days is the same calms that carried me through the ruck marches at Fort Jackson. God was shaping me again, quietly, fearfully, and faithfully, and deliberately. Now, see, at the end of your school, you get orders. Some get orders to go to another school. Some get orders to go to their permanent duty station. This is where you're going to spend however many years doing your job. Some people go overseas. Some people stay in the States. But the orders come out, and the drill sergeant starts walking through the barracks, starts handing out the envelopes. And see, when these orders start coming out, the room goes silent because everybody's opening, trying to figure out where they're going next. See, when I opened my envelope, it said Fort Benning, Georgia, Airborne School. Airborne. I actually got one thing that I asked for when I signed up. Because see, Airborne School, most soldiers never go because it's voluntary, it's demanding, it separates the tough from the ones who just talk tough. Now, understand, I'm not calling myself tough by no stretch of the imagination, because I knew that I had struggles when I was getting ready to go to Airborne School. I was flat-footed, for number one. You know how hard it is to run as a flat-footed person? It's very difficult. And see, in Airborne School, you run everywhere. You don't walk, all right? So the boy who once slept in a tent on Lake Lanier, who shouldn't have been terrified, but the man who was standing there, I felt ready. I should have been more terrified than what I thought I should have become, but I didn't. And the reason why was very simple. I knew the school I was going to teach something that nobody else in the world could teach me. And that was how to execute with precision and how to continue to grow. Airborne is not just a badge. It's actually a calling. So we get on a bus, we leave from Fort Lee, Virginia, and we start heading down south. We're going to Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning, home of the infantry, home of the Airborne School. See, Fort Benning hits you before the training ever starts. You go rolling through those gates, you have a little bit more confidence. The reason you have this confidence is because you know what? You've got through basic, you got through AIT, you've dealt with every drill sergeant they could throw at you. You have it all made. But you know what? It's coming. Black hats. What is a black hat, you may say? Black hats are instructors. They wear black ball caps. Their voices are like war drums. They will be all over you before you know it. And they have one mission. That is to teach you how to jump out of a perfectly good airplane or to send you home. That's it. See, Airborne School wasn't about being fearless. It was about being obedient. It's 3 weeks long. Most people have said, 3 weeks, that's nothing. I can do 3 weeks. The first week is ground week. And when I say 3 weeks, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking Monday through Friday. You're doing 7 days a week, 21 days of school, nonstop. First week is ground week. Then you have tower week. Then you have jump week. PLFs, these are landings. This is how they teach you to land in the military. Because when you're coming down in a parachute, you want to know how to land or you're going to start breaking bones. And so you jump off of this wall and you learn how to do a PLF, which is your ankles, you are rolling, all right, either to the left or to the right. So if you can imagine, ankles, the side of your leg, your knees, your hip, your back, and you roll. And you practice this over and over and over again until your ribs are aching. And then when it comes to tower week, you get into these towers and the harnesses that you're in, it starts making your chest burn. It starts hurting from being constantly dropped to get used to doing these drills. And those towers remind you on how small you truly are. But see, then jump week comes around. This is where you do 5 jumps. You do 3 combat jumps and you do 2 Hollywood jumps, as they call it. That means you are just no gear, right? You're standing at the door of a C-130. The wind is roaring like a freight train. Your heart is pounding in your ears. In that moment, a breath. And then everything stops. Jump or freeze. Trust or retreat. The jump master, he slaps the back of your helmet. He yells, go. You step into nothing, but you are in everything. See, some people, they freeze at the door. They will push you out that door. You will get off that aircraft. But when you hit the ground, because the jump master had to push you out that door, you're done with Airborne School. So my time came. I jumped right out the door. And then that moment that the chute opened, silence, drifting, peace, fear turning into freedom. And what I mean by that is they teach you as soon as you come out the door, you have your chin tucked and you count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. When you get to 4, you better have a main chute coming out that snatches you. If not, you keep your hands on the front of your chest on your reserve and you pull your reserve chute. Less than 4 seconds, your main chute should come out because it's called a static line. It's all connected to the aircraft. So as you jump out of the aircraft, it pulls and starts your chute. It's not like what you see on television. But if that chute doesn't open up, you better pull that reserve, because if that reserve doesn't open, you are about to meet God in a very fast way. All right. So as I said, the chute opened up. There was silence. It was drifting. There was peace. The fear turned into freedom. And when my boots hit the ground, something settled inside of me. I made the jump. It wasn't from a plane, but it was from courage that I did this. The first jump never scares you, ladies and gentlemen. The second jump terrifies you because now you know what to expect. But once you can get over that second jump, everything else is downhill. The Hollywood jumps are the easiest because then it's just you in the parachute and the great views that you get to see. So I made it through Airborne School. Earning my wings changed me. I wasn't the kid from Forsyth County, Georgia anymore. I wasn't the private from Fort Jackson. I was a soldier with a skill, with discipline, and with confidence. But see, God was doing something deeper. The Army taught me how to execute, but God was teaching me how to trust. Ahead of me waited my first duty station in a foreign land, Germany. But see, the storm of basic was behind me. The forge of AIT and Airborne School was complete, but now the world is calling. See, there are seasons where God teaches you how to walk. There are seasons where God teaches you how to jump. Faith lives in the space between stepping out and realizing God has you. See, Airborne taught me courage, but see, God taught me how to trust. Taught me how to trust. Joshua 1:9, it says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not fear and do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." Father, for the ones that are standing in the doorway right now, facing fear, facing changes, facing a calling, whisper to their spirit, "Jump and I'm with you." Give them the courage to obey, the faith for the landing, and give them the feel of your presence in everything that they are going through, Lord. It's a scary time for everyone who are standing in different places in their life. Some don't understand what to do, Lord, but this is why we need to trust in you. And I pray that each and every one who decides to take that step of faith, Lord, and turn everything over to you, I pray, Lord, that you will comfort them in your hands and give them a soft landing where they go. For it's in your precious name I pray. Amen. This has been chapter 3 of Airborne and AIT, from Jesus and a Cup of Joe. Next time, we're going to talk about foreign soil. We're going to talk about my first duty station in Germany, where growth, responsibility, and identity all collide. But until then, keep trusting, keep moving forward, and don't be afraid to jump. May God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for listening. And remember, you always start your day with Jesus and a Cup of Joe. God bless.